It's been a few weeks since I sugared my arms, and so I'm going to show you how I do it from start to finish. I always put my hair up so it doesn't get sticky. I like to rest my hands in the sugar dough jar and let my natural body heat up the dough until I can pull it out of the jar. And then I'll have 2 washcloths with me next to a bowl of water, and I'll wet one of the washcloths. First, I wipe my arms with the wet towel to get any lotion off, sweat, oil, dirt, dust. After wiping my arms, I grabbed the dry towel and just patted the whole area dry. Then I'll wait a few minutes just to make sure my skin is completely dry. Then I used our pre-sugaring body powder to rub it onto my skin just to make sure that all of the oil and sweat was absorbed. If you run warmer, a pro tip is to put pieces of dough on some parchment paper and switch between them. I stretched the dough out a few times to warm it up and then rolled it into a ball and put it at the base of my hand. Then I curved my hand into a C shape and press into the dough and rake it against the direction of hair growth. I like to do this raking motion a few times in a row just to make sure that the sugar dough is really hugging all of those hairs, and then I'll flick towards the direction of hair growth to remove it. I'm using the medium paste consistency because my arm hairs are really fine. Again, my arm hairs grow towards my hand, so I'm sculpting against the direction that it grows. I'll repeat it a couple times to make sure it really sticks to all of my hair, and then I'll flick towards the direction of hair growth. One method I like to use that I find helpful is called the sculpt and twist, which is where I flick it forwards and then I twist it, push it down, flick it forwards, twist it, push it down, flick it forwards. When I'm sugaring around my elbow, I will bend my arm towards me so my wrist is resting on my shoulder. I feel like this naturally pulls your skin taut and makes it easier to remove all those little hairs. I get a lot of questions if it's sticky or if it makes a mess, and it's made out of sugar, so it is sticky to a certain extent, and it can be a little messy, especially in the beginning when you're first learning, but the best part is that this is water soluble, so it makes the cleanup really easy. This is one of my favorite forms of self-care. I love listening to podcasts while I do this. Every few flicks, I'll roll my dough into a ball and then just pat the area to get any sticky spots on my arm. I'm so glad this happened on camera. It got to a point where the dough stopped flicking off. It was really stuck to my skin, and every time I tried to flick it off, it wouldn't really work. It was a little painful. And because I was still on my first arm, this doesn't mean that I need to get a new piece of dough. It just means that I need to put more powder on my arm. I got some on my clothes, but it comes off easily, so I'm not worried about it. And you can see that once I put the powder on my arm, then the sugar dough was working beautifully again. Once I finished my right arm, then it was time for me to sugar my left arm, so I'm using the same piece. Another technique that I find really helpful is to do the accordion fold. So you'll see as I'm flicking forward, it folds kind of like an accordion, and then I just push down, sculpt, and flick until I'm done. Another little tip is when I'm sculpting my dough, I pretend like my fingers are super glued together, and that just helps me have better control over the sugar dough. When I'm done, I'll take my used dough and just press it against the sink. I'll fill the sink with warm water so it will dissolve, and then I will re-wet my washcloth and wipe off my arms. Then I'll pat my arms dry with the dry washcloth. Once I'm done, then I will apply our post-sugaring soothing serum. There's aloe in it, so it feels really good right after sugaring. Then I'll wait 15 minutes before I spot treat any areas that need help with the ingrown magic wand, and I usually use a lint roller to get any powder off of my clothes. Before I put my sugar dough away, I always wipe the rim with a wet paper towel. I also do the same thing with the lid so that I don't have to arm wrestle my sugar dough the next time I want to use it. I like to store it in a cool, dry place so it doesn't separate. And now my arms are silky smooth and I won't have to sugar them for another month.